Imagine a field where innovative thinking isn't just a nice to have, but it's actually critical, life-saving even. You might picture, I don't know, a tech lab, or maybe a really high-stakes ER. But what if I told you that field is nursing?
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into something fascinating, creativity among nurses. So our mission today is to really get our heads around how creativity is understood, how it's measured, and maybe even how it's predicted for these essential healthcare pros. We're going to unpack this pretty groundbreaking research paper. It's just out from 2025. It's called Use of Machine Learning to Predict Creativity Among Nurses, a Multidisciplinary Approach. And believe me, it offers some, well, surprising insights into what really fuels creativity in healthcare. Plus, how cutting-edge tech, like machine learning, is changing how we think about these really human attributes. Okay, let's unpack this. Where should we start? Well, maybe first, why is creativity so crucial right now for nurses? More than ever, maybe. Think about it. The healthcare systems today, they're just incredibly complex, right? They're constantly changing. Science,
Yeah.
technology, it's all moving so fast. Nurses are right there on the front lines. They often run into situations they haven't specifically trained for. So creativity isn't just about like a clever new idea now and then. It's essential for solving daily patient problems, generating new ways of doing things, improving how hospitals run, enhancing quality of care, and yeah, even saving money. It's really fundamental.
It is. And what's truly fascinating here is that even though everyone kind of acknowledges how important it is, nurses' creativity and things related to it, they're surprisingly, well, understudied in nursing research. So this study is really helping fill a pretty big gap. And it highlights something really key, I think, for everyone listening. Creativity isn't this fixed thing,
Yeah.
that you either have or you don't. It's dynamic. It's something that can absolutely be nurtured, developed over time, if the environment is right, of course.
Right.
That's a huge point for anyone in management, really, not just nursing.
That's such a good point. It's dynamic. But okay, that leads to the big question, doesn't it? How on earth do you measure something like creativity? It feels so
Yeah,
intangible.
right. How do you quantify it? Well, this study tackled that in a really smart way.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just rely on the usual statistical methods.
Oh, what did they do?
They actually blended those traditional statistics with advanced machine learning algorithms.
Okay, machine learning. We need to unpack that a bit.
Definitely. But the basic study design was, well, descriptive, cross-sectional, correlational, essentially taking a snapshot. They looked at a group of nurses at one point in time to see how different factors related to each other.
Just observing, not intervening.
Exactly. And their data, given from an online survey. They got responses from 191 registered nurses spread across 8 different hospitals in Jordan.
Right, so the machine learning part, why bring AI into studying creativity?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because creativity is so dynamic, maybe even a bit nonlinear. Machine learning actually offers a really robust way to analyze it. Think of ML, it's part of artificial intelligence, right? It basically lets computers learn from data without someone having to explicitly program every single rule.
So it finds patterns on its own.
Precisely. It identifies these hidden patterns to predict specific outcomes, like creativity levels in this case.
And you mentioned things like algorithm and training data.
Yeah, very simply. The training data is the information you feed the computer, like the survey responses from the nurses. The algorithm is the method the computer uses to learn from that data. And the model is the result the computer's learned ability to make predictions based on new data.
Okay, got it. It's like teaching it to recognize creativity based on the examples it sees.
It's a good way to put it.
So after all that complex analysis, what did they actually find? What did the data show about these nurses' creativity?
Well, first off, some really encouraging news. The Jordanian nurses in this study, they actually reported a high level of creativity overall.
High, like really high.
Yeah, their average score was well above the threshold that indicates high creativity, so that's great context.
Definitely. And what influenced it? What factors popped up?
The study zeroed in on 2 really key concepts: humble leadership and psychological safety.
Okay, let's break those down. Humble leadership.
Right. That's about leaders who, acknowledge their own limits. They encourage new ideas from their team. They value their followers' strengths. They're focused on continuous learning. And importantly, they take responsibility. Not afraid to say, I messed up, or I don't know.
Okay, makes sense. And psychological safety.
That describes the work environment itself. Is it a place where people feel safe to speak up, to voice opinions, even dissenting ones?
Take risks, maybe. Interpersonal risks.
Exactly, like suggesting a new, untested idea without fear of being shut down or blamed if it doesn't work out perfectly. It fosters cooperation, feedback, open-mindedness, and crucially, It significantly reduces errors. People are more likely to flag potential problems.
That link to error reduction is huge in healthcare.
Absolutely critical.
So how did these two factors, humble leadership and psychological safety, relate to creativity in the statistical analysis?
Okay, so digging into the stats, they use multiple linear regression, fancy term, but it basically helps see how several factors together predict an outcome. And they found 5 main predictors. Together, these explained about 30% of the difference in perceived creativity levels, which is pretty decent for something this complex.
30%. Okay, what were the 5?
All right, so first, humble leadership. It was positively correlated. More humble leadership, more creativity.
Makes intuitive sense.
Then psychological safety. Same deal, positively correlated. Safer environment, more creativity.
It also makes sense. What else?
Nurses' years of experience. Interestingly, creativity actually increased with more experience.
Oh, that's interesting. Sometimes you think experience might lead to fixed ways of thinking.
Not here,
Wow.
apparently. Also, education level mattered. Creativity went up significantly with higher education. Nurses with master's degrees reported higher creativity than those with bachelor's, for example.
Okay, experience and education. One more.
The last one was about the hospital itself. Nurses working in hospitals that had official quality improvement programs reported better creativity levels.
So an organizational focus on improvement seems to foster individual creativity too.
It seems so. But here's a really fascinating detail, maybe a bit counterintuitive.
Go on.
Unlike some previous research, this study found no significant statistical link between humble leadership and psychological safety.
Really? You'd think a humble leader would automatically create a safe environment.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But the data here didn't show that direct correlation. It suggests that maybe even a leader who is humble might need to take very specific, intentional actions to actually build that psychological safety. It doesn't just happen by default, perhaps.
Wow, okay, that's a really important nuance. Just being humble isn't the whole picture for creating that safety net.
Seems that way, based on this data.
Right. So that's what the traditional stats told us about the drivers. But you mentioned the machine learning could actually predict creativity. How did that work?
Yes, this is where it gets really cutting edge for this kind of research. The machine learning models they built, they performed really well. High precision in predicting which nurses would likely fall into high or low creativity category.
And what factors did the ML models use for prediction? Were they the same ones?
Mostly, but with some interesting differences.
Hmm.
The ML model focused on 6 factors. Humble leadership and psychological safety were still key.
Okay, same as the stats so far.
Right. But then it also included gender, age, time commitment, like full-time versus part-time, and staff experience.
Huh. So gender and age came into the prediction model.
They did. But what's really intriguing is what wasn't prominent in the ML model's prediction. Remember how education level and those hospital quality initiatives were statistically significant predictors?
Yeah.
The ML model, through its automated process of selecting the most predictive features, actually excluded those two.
Whoa. So the AI prioritized differently than the traditional statistics.
Exactly. It's like they offered different lenses on the data.
Can you explain that difference a bit more? Why would they look at it differently?
Sure. If we sort of connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
statistical models like that regression analysis we talked about, their main goal is usually to explain relationships. They try to understand the why. How does X influence Y?
Right, understanding the connections.
Whereas machine learning models, their primary focus is often on making accurate predictions. They want to predict the outcome as precisely as possible, sometimes even if the underlying why isn't perfectly clear or interpretable in the traditional sense.
So prediction over explanation, in a way.
Often, yes. Though interpretability of ML models is a big area of research itself. But in this study, the ML model really shone in its predictive power. Using one specific type, the naive Bayes classifier, they got recall scores, that's a measure of accuracy, of like 99% for psychological safety predicting creativity group.
99%. That's incredible.
It is. Around 98% for gender and time commitment, 96% for years of experience, 92% for nurse age, and still a very respectable 82% for humble leadership.
So the ML models really nailed the predictions.
Yeah, they achieved, as the paper says, good prediction performance with high precision. Most of the models had ROC values, another performance metric, over 0.9, which is considered excellent.
Okay, so this is really powerful stuff. But what does it mean practically? How can this be used in, the real world?
Great question. This leads directly to the most practical output of the study. A decision support system, or DSS.
A DSS, what's that exactly?
Think of it like a smart assistant for managers. It's an information system built to help people make better decisions, especially when problems are complex. It uses data, analysis, and insights.
Okay, so what does this DSS do?
The one developed in this study is basically a predictive model. It takes those factors the ML found important: psychological safety, gender, time commitment, experience, age, and humble leadership.
Right, the ML predictors.
Exactly. It analyzes those inputs for a given nurse or group of nurses,
Right.
and it helps nurse managers predict or assess their likely creativity levels.
Wow. So a manager could get a data-driven insight into their team's creative potential.
That's the idea. The benefits are pretty clear. You get objective insights to predict who might be your strongest creative problem solvers. This allows for more informed decisions. Think about staff allocation for specific projects, targeted professional development, optimizing resources.
Yeah, imagine you're a nurse manager, you've got a new team. This DSS could potentially give you a quick read on where your creative strengths lie, maybe who needs a bit more support or encouragement.
Precisely. It's a potential game changer.
How does this really change things for managers? Moves beyond just gut feeling.
Absolutely. It gives them an objective, data-driven method. It moves beyond only subjective assessments, which can be biased.
Yeah.
It helps managers pinpoint specific areas where creativity could be nurtured, maybe targeting interventions or resources more effectively.
Makes sense.
And this raises an important question. What's the potential for actually integrating something like this into the daily workflow? Could you have an easy-to-use app, maybe? Or software on the hospital network?
A creativity predictor tool on your phone?
Something like that.
Nah.
Ultimately, the goal would be to make it a practical tool that helps improve patient care and how the unit or hospital runs.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If something relatively simple, like an app based on this model, could help managers unlock more creativity.
Yeah, how many potential breakthroughs or smart solutions are we maybe missing right now because we don't have these kinds of tools?
Okay, so that brings us towards the end here. Let's talk about nurturing creativity. Based on everything we've discussed, what are the main takeaways? The practical advice for nurses and especially nurse managers.
Right. For nurse managers, the message is pretty clear from this study. They really need to think about adopting flexible leadership styles. That humble leadership aspect is important, even if it needs specific actions alongside it. And crucially, create that psychologically safe work environment. That came through strongly in both analyses.
So fostering safety and being adaptable.
Yes. And really leaning into staff development. Specifically, the study suggests things like targeted training, really fostering open communication channels, maybe establishing peer support networks, promoting recognition for creative ideas, and encouraging nurses to reflect on their practice.
And demonstrating that humility themselves, right? Acknowledging mistakes, valuing input.
Exactly. Leading by example on that front.
And what about for the nurses themselves? Any recommendations for them?
Yeah, the study touches on that too. It encourages nurses to engage in continuing education. We saw that link between education and creativity. Attending nursing conferences, staying updated, participating in evidence-based practice initiatives, and even contributing to policy development, maybe pushing for advanced nursing roles where creativity can really flourish.
So it's a two-way street. Managers create the environment, nurses actively engage in growth.
Definitely. And broadening the discussion a bit, this study just really hammers home that creativity isn't purely innate. The work environment plays such a massive role in enhancing and developing it. That's a powerful message. And it also gives a strong vote of confidence for using machine learning in this area. It shows these models can be effective and reliable for assessing something as complex as creativity.
That's a big step for nursing research, using AI this way.
It really is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the study's innovative approach definitely warrants more exploration. There's a clear call here for developing more of these decision support systems, maybe using an even broader range of factors. Think about cultural factors or the dynamics of interdisciplinary teams. How do those play into creativity? There's so much more potential to explore with these methods.
Absolutely, so much potential. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The core message from this deep dive seems to be that creativity in nursing isn't just vital for healthcare today, with all its complexities, but we can now actually understand it better and even predict it by combining traditional research insights with these powerful AI tools.
That sums it up nicely. It really shifts how we might think about fostering innovation where it matters most.
It really does.
This deep dive into nurses' creativity, it really shows the power of blending human understanding with advanced technology. It leaves me with a thought. What if every profession started embracing this kind of data-driven approach to identify and really cultivate creativity?
Hmm. Everywhere.
Yeah, imagine the kinds of breakthrough innovations we could unlock. If we could systematically foster creativity across all sorts of fields, education, engineering, you name it, by truly understanding what makes it tick, using these kinds of insights, what could we achieve?
That's a really provocative thought to end on. Systematically fostering creativity everywhere. Wow. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Lots to think about there. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll see you next time.